Hi, we're back from Florida,
What's up, guys?
so I don't have to hide in the bathroom anymore.
Oh yeah, last podcast we all did separate audios, and that was fun for Josh later.
Yeah.
But that was like an emergency thing. So we're like, we we just saw Captain Marvel. We have to talk about it right now.
Yeah, super psyched to see that movie. At this point, I've seen it 3 times already.
And I'm still not tired of it. Like I really love the movie. We said almost everything in the Captain Marvel like review podcast thingy that you can check out. I know there's been like a lot of controversy about stuff. The only thing I want to say, because a lot of people try to instigate conversations / arguments with me on like socials, the only thing I'm trying to get across is like I grew up as an underrepresented minority, and so when another underrepresented group of people, such as women, have like their experiences and opinions about things, I try to hear it out and respect it, especially because there's another friend that I won't call out in this, but Captain Marvel was what she needed. And when people like kind of put it down in her presence, it did more harm than good. And so that's my stance. I'm just, I'm all about, what did Bree say? Just pulling more seats up to the table. And I don't think there's any harm in that.
Yeah, if you're going to actually like have a disagreement with it, at least be civil about the darn thing. That's the thing. It's like I had a few things, but like I was not going to go out of my way to like look like a moron.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is you don't have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. All these guys saying what they're saying is just like leftover monkey shit from evolution. They need to like cut it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I put it down on the list for us to talk about. There was actually like a website, I think it's like Cosmic Book News, to where I used to pull some stuff from on, and it was like just blasting Captain Marvel with just weird stuff, like before the movie came out, and I was just getting pissed about it. Like, come on, man, I don't care how much money the movie makes, because to be honest, there's been so many movies in the past that haven't made squat, and they were amazing.
Forget like the whatever other things people are yelling about, like how many Easter eggs were in that movie and how many different things connected to other different things, and like it makes me want to go back and watch every single Marvel movie again.
That's a good point. I think Captain Marvel did what Batman v Superman didn't do. Be a connective tissue between a bunch of other movies. When I left Batman v Superman, I was like, I don't know what the heck just happened. Like it was because I don't follow DC that much, let alone the movies, and so when so I saw it with Vince and my brother, and my brother and Vince are both into DC, so they're like, oh yeah, it's kind of this Injustice timeline. I'm like, what's Injustice? It's like, it's this video game. Why do I have to play a video game to understand the movie? Like, not even Mortal Kombat did that. You could just go see that crappy movie and know what it is from the beginning.
Oh, Mortal Kombat.
But Captain Marvel, I think if you never, unless you don't like sci-fi, don't go see this if you don't like superhero sci-fi movies. Besides that, if you go into it and you like that kind of thing, even if you haven't seen the other ones, you wouldn't appreciate as much from it. But I think it was a pretty good like adventure. It was a story in itself, as well as a bunch of Easter eggs.
Ton of heart, a lot of heart. Some of my friends had said like they put her through too much struggle.
See, and then you flip like one webpage over and like not enough struggle.
I know.
Yeah,
Everyone has a freaking
everybody
opinion.
has an opinion. It's annoying.
And the whole like she wasn't emotional. It's like the whole movie was about emotions.
However, like that screen rant, was a pitch meeting, was to me it was like dead on.
Really?
Some of that stuff was
I think
hilarious to me.
The only thing I would say about this, because I love pitch meetings, and I love that one too. The only thing I would say is like I feel like it was a little rushed because there were actual issues I thought that they could have like made fun of, and there was some stuff in there like, oh, you didn't watch it again. Like you could tell it was like, oh, once, because there's like things he made fun of. They're like, oh, they explain that later, but it's still funny to point out because it's much like any other movie that they poke fun at in pitch meeting. The point is, it's leading us to Endgame. So.
Yes.
God, we're so close.
Oh, actually, this wasn't on our list, but this is a good little like segue. Someone from Nerdist, I think, brought up the idea that kind of indirectly Goose is responsible for saving Agent Coulson, because, and I don't know how this would be a spoiler if you haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the last 5 years, but when Coulson comes back, after the movies, because he, you find out couple seasons in, it was because of Tahiti and they used Kree body parts and blood and stuff to bring him back. That corpse probably came from Goose when he coughed it up later.
Oh, that's funny.
Interesting.
Because there's a very rare circumstance where they would have conquered Kree anything. and brought back like bodies from, so they're like, where would you just get a random shard of a Kree body? I'm like, well, that Flurkin probably just vomited like 6 of them up, just like it did the Tesseract.
As much as I love that, I hope people don't just start using Flurkin for every frickin' answer.
I think the only reason they did it this time is because we watched him eat like 6 Kree.
Yeah,
on that ship.
I'm trying to remember it was definitely Kree technology that brought Coulson back. The whole machine, all that what they called Tahiti was all Kree machinery, technology, everything. But I don't remember how bad I remember he had that big thing in his chest, and then half his head was like being regenerated. But I don't know if they actually swapped his body.
They didn't swap a body, but they showed where the blood of the Kree was coming from. It's much like how
that body.
Yanrog,
yeah.
blood ran through Carol Danvers, and that's probably why she's like virtually invincible on Earth.
Yeah.
But like
that would make sense.
So in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., remember they showed like that Kree corpse.
It was a cadaver, yeah.
Yeah, it was like half
they used
slashed up and stuff.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So it's like, where did they get that from? It's like it's probably vomited up from this cat who'd been like half digesting it for the last, I don't know how many years.
Nice.
And stuff, but nice little touch.
Speaking of Endgame, like the new trailer just dropped like a couple days ago.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm not gonna watch this, and then like I texted Rod right afterwards, like I watched it.
The best part is, I between me sleeping in and Josh's willpower, I'd woken up after the entire series of events had happened. So I woke up to like text like, I'm not gonna watch this. Oh, maybe. Oh, I watched it.
One other real quick thing that I was thinking, the whole Coulson letting Fury and Carol go was kind of like a nod to when Fury helped Coulson back to life. Like, I feel like if that moment had not happened, Fury would have never had like a I owe you one with Coulson.
I think that moment like really cemented them as like the respect for each other.
Yeah, that's that was one of the connections that I had made, Easter egg wise or not. Like,
and I put this as my Twitter, like one of my Twitter posts. I almost said my Twitter post as it feels like an AOL Instant Messenger away message. One of my Twitter posts was something that Kevin Feige had said because they'd asked like, why the heck didn't Fury click that pager before? And I don't know if you heard this. Feige's answer was like, how do you know she didn't?
Oh,
he didn't.
It just took this long for her to get there.
Either that or she has been back, and we might just find out what that was, or something. We don't know the whole story. We're just assuming it's the only time he's clicked. And who knows, like, if she always gets the messages. I mean, she said a couple galaxies, but that's a long range.
that was part of that pitch meeting where he's like, I guess aliens taking over the world isn't enough of a worry. Like, guess not. Or an AI destroying the world.
The Carlins, Super Carlin brothers actually brought up a really good point, though. Like, even if you take away all this other stuff, anytime that the Avengers in a majority of their capacity are taking on something, for Fury, that's probably good enough for him because the reason, he assembled this team to replace Captain Marvel. So, if you were him, he'd probably like, well, the point I made this team was like, if they're in it, and I mean, I know like we're watching as an audience, we're like, but the whole city of New York's being destroyed. Like, he's probably thinking, well, all the Avengers are still standing. So, like, is that an emergency in the galactic sense? I'm not sure. Wouldn't it be messed up if we find out later that Captain Marvel saved each and every instance in the background? He's like, boop, boop. She's like, you can't keep calling me.
Oh, I'd be so mad. That would devalue so many things.
It would devalue things, and I feel like then you would cause another giant uproar on the internet.
Anyway, that was Captain Marvel, and now we got a few weeks. Now we got like a week until Shazam, and then a few weeks until Endgame. So,
I am super excited for Shazam.
Same.
Every single clip that I see. I'm not trying to see these clips, and it's annoying. Like with the Avengers one, I didn't want to see it, and I just kind of gave in. I didn't give a lot, to be honest with you.
They actually reviewed a lot of the older movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, even with the 2 trailers, like for this movie, I think they even said it was only like the first 15 minutes,
something like that. Yeah, they're like restricting them.
Show stuff. So,
and knowing Marvel now with like Infinity War, all the clips are either not in the movie or out of context.
Just not real.
Right.
Well, now we know that all the blank spots between the lineups of Avengers is probably Captain Marvel.
It could be, and it's funny because obviously a lot of these people are trying to take ideas or whatever where they think that the movie's going to be like, but with the Hulk thing, like the Hulk wasn't even in that end fight at the Infinity War. Yeah. So just as the same, Tony was like in the lineup of walking back, and he could just not be there.
Yeah,
like that could just be like some BS. They're like, watch this, and Hulk's not there that I saw, and then on top of it, obviously Captain Marvel's not in that lineup, and neither is Thor, from what I've seen. So did they go on a side mission or something? You know, what's going down?
Yeah.
I see a lot of people making like funny Thor
Theories.
and Captain Marvel love things. Like,
Oh yeah, actually, you posted one of those on the Yellow Spandex thing too, right? Like, it's like we just forgot about Jane at some point. That sounds like a name of a punk band.
Forgot about Jane.
Anyway,
It's pretty good. What is this? What is this article about Disney lying about box office numbers for Captain Marvel?
that's what I'm talking about. That's that cosmic book news garbage to where they're like, oh, they're lying about stuff and this, money and this or that, and then the movie's gonna bomb. Like,
Was this all before the movie?
so when they
I
say
think this one's afterwards. This one's saying like, oh, they're lying about the numbers.
the profits,
Yeah.
that's really hard to lie about in like an open market.
Interesting.
Also, I think a lot of we were actually on Mob Crush's gaming streams past Friday, and our friend Phil Ranta, who's over at Mob Crush, he knows a lot about the film industry. He had mentioned like it wasn't Captain Marvel, but maybe like as of like a couple of years ago, the U.S. finally realized, oh, there's an international market, and they started making films that also appeal to international audiences. And he'd mentioned that because I said on their flight back from Orlando, I'd watched The Meg, and I'm like, this was like the best 2002 movie I've ever seen.
yeah.
Down to like,
Jason Statham.
have you seen The Meg?
I have not.
So Jason Statham is the ex like Marine military thing that gave it all up, but had to come back 6 years later because his ex-wife's in trouble, in the exact same situation that he was in that nobody believed him in. You know, they found the megalodon, and then the scientist that designed the giant like not space station but like underwater study station thing, you know, is like this
C-Lab?
Yeah, it's like this like hot female scientist that has like anime hair and always showing her midriff while at work. You know, like it was like, you know, because remember that like in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was always the scientist. She's like, oh, I forget what her name was. It was something like Jax, or no, I think it was Jax.
Holy crap!
It's like, hi, I'm Jax, and like her hair was like in like the dreadlock spiky.
Sounds like a stripper name.
You know, right?
She's like, "Do you have a belly button?
Oh gosh.
Here's mine."
And then there was like I don't know. There's a whole lot of stuff. There was like a little kid on the ship for some reason, but the only one. So she was always in danger. Not always, but she was either always the solution to the problem or like in danger. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent.
It's funny because that's like the device is this kid.
Yeah. So
That's great.
Phil had mentioned like, oh yeah, the Meg was made by American studios to appeal to international audiences, and I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, that's why the two leads that aren't Jason Statham are huge in China. And Jason Statham is like universally known, and there needs to be a big, bald, grunty guy in these action movies to sell them. You know, like Fast and Furious and all that stuff. So
Bruce Willis.
So he's like, and then so the reason the Meg was so predictable was because they were like, well, let's start with like huge budget, but like super basic storyline we know works in every circumstance. And then like they got to Captain Marvel. Not that Captain Marvel is like Citizen Kane or anything, but like it's way more nuanced than like the Meg and those kind of movies, or like Venom. And so they're like, oh, so slightly nuanced international films can also do well. Because I think, like, the U.S. numbers for Captain Marvel are, like, okay. Like, they're acceptable.
Which is what I think this article was trying to say, is they were quoting the worldwide box office as opposed to, like, we normally quote the U.S. box office.
Yeah. But what Phil had said was, like, now it's become more traditional for the studios, especially when they were meaning to market to an international audience, like when they're doing, like, a premiere all at once instead of like in phases. The international numbers are like intentionally not trying to like pass them off as U.S. numbers, because like Alita Battle Angel was the same way. If you look at just the U.S. numbers, it was a flop.
Yeah.
Oh, not a flop. It wasn't as good as they wanted to be. You look at international numbers, they're going to do like 16 more Alitas.
I was like Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim was the same way. Like it did horrible in the States, and then in China and Japan it was like huge.
Which is interesting because I think the only reason like the numbers quote unquote are like horrible in the States is because not everyone wants to see an action movie like we did. Like Vince and I saw Alita 3 times. We saw Captain Marvel 3 times. Always equally as interesting. I loved Crazy Rich Asians. I think it was like a historic film for like our generation and everything.
Did it win anything at the Oscars?
I'm not sure. We didn't watch the Oscars. I'm not sure.
I didn't watch it either.
It should have.
I hope it won something at least like set design or something, because
I don't like the Oscars just because I feel like they don't give normally to what deserves, and then they just take a long time to give to what does, you know? Like
It always seems like the ones that win are the ones that like need more money for the next thing.
maybe, yeah.
But Crazy Rich Asians we only saw like twice because like rom-coms aren't like 100% my speed. This film was really good though, so we saw an early screening and then we saw it again once it like actually came out. But for me, that was enough.
That was fun. My wife has seen it probably 6 times now. I bought it.
That's great. Yeah, she was telling us about it on the. Well, some of you watched our vlog know that Josh's wife Angie picked us up from the airport and dropped us off when we went to Florida. And we were talking about that on the way back about how she'd finally gotten her copy of Crazy Rich Asians back from the neighbor.
Oh yeah, it's true.
And they were watching it. But I'm glad it was well done, like in a Nora Ephron sort of way, like how we know rom-coms, and not necessarily like what is there's something like in the last like 10 years rom-coms have turned into this like something else that I'm sure it's just like the old people in us that were like, they're not like they used to be in our day, but they aren't like they something's changed recently. And then Crazy Rich Asians kind of like really did the classic format like really well done. But anyway, my whole point with that was something like Captain Marvel coming out, or maybe that's a bad example, like Alita coming out. There's like a new property and everything. You kind of have to go by international numbers because you can't assume like every soccer mom wants to see what that is. Like we were in Florida with Granny Potty Mouth, and I told Granny, I was like, if you want to go see this movie with us, you can. Just warning you, there's 20 previous movies. Kind of leading up to this one that you don't have to see.
Yeah.
And also, she doesn't like sci-fi at all. So I'm like, so also, this is a heavy sci-fi movie, literally taking place in space, as far as I know. And she's like, yeah, pass.
As Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Which is part. That was one of the things in the pitch meeting too, where they're like, "Oh, are people that haven't seen the other movies gonna not know?" And the guy's like, "Well, I'm not sure." And then he goes back to joking, like, "That's okay. We forgot about those people 5 years ago.
We stopped caring about them 6 years ago," which I'm kind of okay with because, like, as a fanboy of that stuff, I don't want to have too much stuff repeating.
Yeah,
I don't know,
like overly explain stuff, like you see, and then the collector will be like, "These are the gems in every freaking movie," you know.
Yeah.
I mean, down to the point where I realized when we recorded our Captain Marvel review, right when we finished watching it, I know I had said, maybe everybody else too, had said like the Tesseract was a Power Stone, but it was a Space Stone. Like actually, I looked it up afterwards. It was a Space Stone, which leaves more questions to as how Captain Marvel got powers, because the Power Stone made sense to me. Space Stone is like, as far as we've seen so far in the MCU, is like teleportation, which makes sense for the ship. Not quite sure how that transfers to a human person and makes them the fire thingy.
Yeah,
but
the Power Stone was the one that was on Xandar, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I thought it was that one, but then I forgot that was a totally separate thing from the Tesseract and all that stuff. So,
Well, Tesseract gave like what? They gave both Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Was it? I thought it was the Mind Stone.
Oh no, you're right. It was the
Mind Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to split these things up in my own brain. There's too many movies. I need to
That's
go back
the
and watch.
thing is Loki's staff and then the Tesseract. People get those two stones mixed up because the Mind Stone came out of Loki's staff, and that's also the stone that Voltron Ultron was trying to use to create Vision, or he did create Vision, and then
Thor did something.
Stuff got messed up, and then Vision became his own thing, mixed in with Jarvis and everybody else.
So that Paul Bettany could still have a career.
You know what was really cool though, and what possibly could be something we see in the future is we never saw Ultron die. We obviously see Vision took care of it at the end, but we don't actually see it. So it makes me theorize that if we are going to see Vision again in the future because of this thing.
Like, I would be happy if they brought everybody back and was like, fooled you. You know, like, nobody's dying. Like, I would love that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know that everyone's like, who's going to die? Who's going to die? And even in the comics, like, Ultron comes back, like, so many stupid times. And that's at one point in time, it was, like, in the back of, like, Vision's programming. He was still there. And it was just...
Those are kind of all the theories I've been, like, they've been floating in my head so far.
And I don't even know if, like, Feige or the Marvel staff know that yet. I think the options are just there, because he had mentioned something on like the DVD extra features that like a lot of people think they have this grand plan put together, and in a lot of ways he does, like Feige does, but like that's only like half of it, and the other half they're kind of like going for as they come along, like as the pieces fit together, you know. So like by the time Black Panther came along, there was a tie-in to like 4 movies ago where Wakanda was on like a map behind Iron Man or something, but they didn't know exactly when they were going to introduce Wakanda. It's just the pieces came together, like the storyline, the right director, the actors and stuff. and so it just kind of like fit.
Vibranium, y'all.
Speaking of the Endgame trailer, the one thing that either is completely deceiving us or it's giving us a little bit of a hint at is that was Peggy Carter narrating, wasn't it, at the beginning?
I don't remember.
I think it was.
That would make more sense.
And it makes me think if this whole thing is a whole time travel thing, because if you remember back, whatever movie it was that Cap had his like, or everyone had their flashbacks from Scarlet Witch.
Age of Ultron, yeah.
Cap had that thing where he got his dance with Peggy.
Yeah.
That would be an immensely. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Like he gets his dance with Peggy, and that's his end. He kind of he's taken out of the timeline.
Yeah.
But he doesn't necessarily die. It's like he gets to go back.
That's
to
an
where he
interesting
left.
thing because both Iron Man and Captain America's contracts are up. So
Yeah.
we're gonna find out how they do that.
But what a way for him to go though, because it's like I'm sure there's going to be a sacrifice of some sort in it because that's the whole point of this thing, and that's Captain America's always about, sacrifice for the good. But I don't know, just the fact that she's narrating it, it's like unless that was from a previous film and I just don't remember it, like that. Why would it be there? She's going to be there in some facet.
Well, to me, it kind of harkens back to the trailers for the Infinity War where they all like set a line of the Avengers thing.
There's also that thing with Stark when he's in the ship by himself and he's got that black A-frame shirt on. Yeah, I'm not going to call it what I call it because that's rude. But every time we have seen him wear that, something pivotal happened. Like the first time we see him in that A-frame shirt, he was stuck in the cave trying to build the first Iron Man suit. And then the second time he was creating a new suit in like Iron Man 3 or something, or Iron Man 2, and you see him in his lab with the black shirt on. And now here again in the trailer of Endgame, he's also in that black beater again. There, I said it.
There's a lot of stuff flying around. I heard that Kang the Conqueror might be involved, which is like a time travel baddie that's kind of after Cap at some point. So
Wasn't he celestial blood?
Ooh, I'm not sure.
'Cause I know he wasn't a celestial, but like Thanos is of celestial blood.
I mean, I trust whatever Marvel like Studios does, but I really hope they don't introduce new characters in Endgame.
Really?
Because not at least not till the end. Like I don't want new characters in the midst of it, mainly because there's so many other characters right now to keep track of, and I don't want to take away from that real estate, especially if it's going to be a lot of their last stands.
Yeah.
But like once again, if it fits, I trust that they'll do it right. But I personally won't be counting on like new things being introduced. But I almost expect the end to introduce some other idea for like the next phases.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my theory?
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right, here's my theory. Before I thought Scott was going to be like trapped in time and like pop up somewhere else.
Right.
I think he just like got trapped in there and he gets poofed out after everybody's gone. So like, and then he comes out and he's like, where the hell is everybody? And so he goes to find everybody and he shows up and he basically is like, hey, we can go time travel deal with this and change some stuff. But what happens is Thanos doesn't care anymore. He's already accomplished his deal. And so he doesn't even want to fight. And so they have to go back in time and change things. Going back in time, which could bring up Kang or someone else that's, you're dealing with time problems. They'll have to go through all that mess, fight that mess, come back to that very same spot that Iron Man and Nebula and the Guardians were fighting, and they all join back in at that spot at the very end. That's my theory.
Kind of epic, yeah.
Time travel is definitely going to be a thing in
Yes.
this next one.
Has to be.
Dimensional wise, like multi-dimensional, I think that they've already stated that it exists and it's kind of a part of MCU now. So I don't know if that's like a big reveal, like, oh my god, it's multi-dimensional now, because it always has been.
I think the idea of grabbing the Infinity Stones from other dimensions, though, is going. If they do that, that'll be like a real like, oh my god, like why didn't Thanos think of that?
Yeah, why didn't he do that in the first place?
Or maybe he did. We're going to find that out.
Right, because both like Strange and can go between dimensions.
Which is funny though, because I think if you watch the how it should have ended for the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, how Into the Spider-Verse, Wilson Fisk is trying to bring his wife and kids back or whatever.
Oh, that's right.
And so like he goes in to try to like grab them from a different universe or something.
Yep.
And so the guy's like, how it should have been. And like, well, since you grabbed these guys from another universe, well, isn't there a Fisk in that universe? And he's gonna be pissed and come after you in this one.
I know.
Oh
I
shoot!
see that.
That's a good theory. Or did Fisk die in that one?
Oh, it's true.
Oh.
Rick and Morty
Random
just
one.
going to land in the middle of Wakanda and like save everybody. I kind of hope is I hope that I'm assuming this is going to be Stan Lee's, if not his last, one of his last cameos. And I kind of hope that it pushes the storyline a little bit.
The cameo itself.
Mm-hmm. Like there was the rumors that he was a Watcher, and then Feige just like was like, that sounds cool. Let's go for it. And so now everything since then has been kind of being like a nudge at like he's a Watcher. And then spoilers for some reason, if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, you're one of like the 3 people that didn't. He is himself in our timeline in this movie. And I noticed, so I went back and watched like an interview with Anna, what's her name, the director, and she's like, they mentioned something to the fact that like they instructed Brie, or they directed Brie to like jump out of character for that second, so that's why she gives that nod to him. But it could also be interpreted as like she knows the universe, she might just recognize him, as one of the Watchers, like travel, and she's
true.
And so she like the reason she nods in our heads is because it's Stan, his first MCU movie since he passed away.
Yeah.
But in the universe, it could just be kind of like she's on the train and she like sees him and she's like, "See you," and then
to more support that, I think it was like one of the end scenes of Guardians of the Galaxy. You see Stan Lee in the spacesuit with
all the Watchers.
All the Watchers.
So, but the fact that like a character actually like interacted with him potentially in a way where she recognized him as a Watcher, it would be really nice in the next one. I know it won't be like the crux of a story, but it'd be really cool if like whatever happens with his cameo, like just kind of like pushes something along in the story.
Yeah, that'd be fun if they did like just a kind of thank you towards that. I've heard that they have another cameo for Far From Home,
Makes
where
sense.
he can appear in it.
It's cool.
But
he's been in all the other ones, man. He's gonna be in this one too.
yeah,
Far From Home is another interesting concept because from what we can see, we're living in a world already without the rest of the Avengers, or at least the major ones. Like Fury's going to Spider-Man, to a teenager, instead of like, Tony Stark or something. So it's like, it's hinting at things for us, but obviously we don't know anything.
yeah. And again, they could also be like, screw you, you don't know the real truth, the
Yeah.
trailer.
Or this happened way before Endgame.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I wonder, because what are we in, phase 4 now?
I've lost track.
After Endgame, we begin phase 4 with Far From Home.
I'm going to open something up loudly.
That's fine.
I wonder if they're gonna say that phase 4 actually has Dark Phoenix as a part of it, because it was between, but now it's owned by Disney, right?
Not yet.
No, not until March 20. I actually found the time by like I think noon on March 20th. I think it's supposed to be, which right now it is the 18th.
Well,
so we
18th.
got like less than 2 days, and then it'll be finalized. That
I've heard Feige talk about X-Men and them being finally coming back to a point of where they have all these other characters, and how he's definitely going to implement this stuff in the future. So I'm super excited, like especially with Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I want to see what this next Guardians is going to be.
Oh, James Gunn is back. Speaking
yeah,
of.
that's one of the big things. We have so many things on this list. To be honest, it's pretty insane how much stuff from the last time we talked.
And if Mary Poppins is going to make a comeback.
It's true.
I mean, it's all under the same roof now.
Yeah.
So
But James Gunn is now back as director for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is, to me, insane. I thought, personally, that Disney would never go back on a decision they've made, especially a decision like that, to where they were like, ooh, this is a bad for us publicity deal. No matter how much the internet complained about it, and there was a ton of like, dude, come on, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like, he made some poor in taste jokes on Twitter like years ago.
But things on Twitter that I think everybody could agree, even if they were poor in taste, weren't serious. Like I don't think many people who were in their right mind could read the things and be like, oh, he's definitely that.
Yeah. And it was like hurting like little kids or something, with like sexually, something like that, where it was like it was a joke.
If he said the same things on stand up in New York,
Yeah.
no one would blink an eye.
Yeah, if you're on stand-up stage, which, to be honest, like when I listen to a lot of other podcasts, like Rogan and other things, where they're like, they actually complain a little bit about that. They're like, people are trying to take us out nowadays, and it's like, dude, we're in stand-up in a dark comedy club. This is supposed to be the place where like you're supposed to be able to like say the worst things that you
and
think of.
That's
you know?
another thing is I've pointed this out before and people disagreed with this, but Disney doesn't exactly have a clean history either.
No.
Granted, it wasn't incredibly malicious to me growing up, but like looking back as an adult, I'm like, I'm real glad my niece doesn't have to grow up with these cartoons now. Like, there's a few that they've obviously tried to forget that ever happened, but there's still stuff that's not in the vaults even, like considered classics and stuff like the was it the Rescuers Down Under that had the Siamese cats from
Siamese cats
Oh,
are
it's Lady and the
from
Tramp.
Yeah, Lady and the Tramp.
aristocrats. Cats.
Oh, I think they're in a bunch.
Okay.
I think there is.
So I think Lady and the Tramp, those where most people know them for the Siamese cat song.
Yeah.
Siamese cats. If
Which is
you
fine. It's
please.
fine. It's in history. It's in canon. Like, I don't think it should be erased. But like, if you made that right now, like, so incredibly racist.
Yeah.
But and also like the blackface in like a bunch of old Disney cartoons. But it's part of the history. Now, Song of the South, I don't think you can like get Disney to acknowledge that even existed.
I did not even know that was a
Really?
movie. Yeah, I've never seen that, and
I've
watched almost all.
I remember seeing it as a kid. So, and I think like, the company's grown. Like, it's grown in since like the stuff it made then existed in that time period. People want to go back out and look at it. They're obviously not like promoting it like wildly right now.
I feel like it's people that are just some people just want to try to get news and clicks and make articles. It gets annoying when you're trying to dig into someone's past.
And that was another thing. I don't think it was like the public that discovered it. I think it was like a politician or something, right? That brought those tweets up to.
No, I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was just some people trying to go back and look.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it gets weird, but either way, he's back.
Yeah, I'm glad that
Because I don't.
the president finally made the decision to go back on his word, and obviously the crew and everybody's like telling him like, you gotta have James back, you gotta have James
Because
back.
the cast all together like unanimously like signed a petition saying that they weren't going to stand by if he wasn't at least part of it, like his script
he's
or something.
the script. I think was their what they were going to fall
Ultimatum.
on. Yeah, they're like basically if it's at least it's not his script being used, then we're done.
This is an interesting part of this article is like Horn reversed the decision after being persuaded by Gunn's public apology and how he handled the situation, even though Gunn signed on to write and direct the Suicide Squad sequel for WB and DC. Marvel Studios apparently never considered another director to helm Guardians of the Galaxy 3. The studio plans to move forward with the third installment in the trilogy once Suicide Squad is complete. So he's actually getting to do both.
So here's my theory, not knowing. I don't actually know anybody involved in this. Our friend Tay knows James Gunn from like a past thing. They worked on a music video together, but besides that, we don't have any connection with him. So this is all speculation. But my theory is either he legit got like fired. They're like, we're never going to work with you because of all this stuff. We don't want the PR. And then he gets hired by Suicide Squad. We're like, take it back. Take it back.
I actually saw a meme that was a beautiful meme from like Spider-Man 2 where like they're like, Parker, you're fired.
Yeah.
And they're like, he's trying to get him back afterwards. Like, no, you're rehired. That's basically for that.
Or
It's a good one.
In the the business dealings, like Whedon's worked on both the DC and the Marvel side of things. I don't know if there would be, but if there was some sort of stigma behind working behind similar properties, like I know Suicide Squad is not the same as Guardians, but I feel like the playfulness of each of the properties was probably something people would connect. And
Yeah.
It has a lot of James Gunn's personality.
Maybe just saying without any substantiated evidence, maybe there was a chance that this was a way, this like little mini controversy over the course of like a year or so, to make it so he could work on both. Like, he's doing Guardians, they create this controversy, he gets to do Suicide Squad, and then they take him back and they're like, well, it's too late, we can't just like not have him do Suicide Squad, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I just know.
I don't know if it's a grandiose plan like that, but
just because
the way things fell is kind of funny.
Without divulging too much stuff, like Vince and I have been involved in some like things that like not shady things, but like in Hollywood, everything's an NDA. That's why like when friends move to Los Angeles and you're like, they don't do anything. It's like, well, they might not be doing anything, but they might also be doing a lot of stuff and they just can't talk about it for 8 years. Because Vince and I moved here and we couldn't talk about the first 2 years of projects we worked on for a while, and we still can on some of them. But like, there's no better PR than outrage.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing necessarily. It's just true. And if there's a PR person that knows how to navigate that correctly, it is awfully convenient that it all fit within the timeline of this stuff happened. It was like, I don't know. Like I said, this is totally unsubstantiated, so it might just have actually happened that way. Because we've also had friends that are in these viral situations, and there's all these conspiracy theories. Oh, this was all set up. We're like, nah, Jess was just on that train that day, and that's when the video blew up. Like we're there in the middle of it. But then there's some stuff where like it's fairly carefully crafted. It's kind of like the WWE or WWF mentality. Public's going to think what it's going to think. You might as well just get paid from it. It's kind of like the Beyonce Lemonade album. Did Jay-Z cheat on her? I don't know. It doesn't matter because the public thinks he did. So either way, they're going to cash in on it. So she made a whole album about it. And he gets to live in the house that Lemonade bought. So I don't know how much he cares.
He just has to keep his mouth shut. That's all.
I don't know. The whole James Gunn thing. I'm glad he's back because the first Guardians movie is probably my favorite MCU movie, just personally. I don't think it's necessarily the best. For me, it's just the most fun. Like I think it's my Star Wars.
Definitely one of the best space movies we've had in a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, like, there you go with Captain Marvel being like one of the strongest female roles we've ever seen. I want to see what Nebula does this time around.
Well, in the original, in the comics, she's the one that ends Thanos. So, like, who knows if they'll stick to it? Because, they seem to be straying quite a bit here recently. So
there is a lot of deviation there.
Yeah, originally they didn't seem like there was a lot of deviation at all.
The whole
this
Captain
last
Marvel
few years,
the whole thing was different, but I still loved it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I wasn't even aware that this animated movie was coming out until a friend of ours had made a mention. But there's a Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated film coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw a little bit of a trailer, but our friend Ben Giroux is actually Robin in that series.
Oh, cool.
And that was the first time I heard about it. Then I went back and looked, and apparently there's been trailers for a while. So I just haven't kept up with it. But be watching for Ben, definitely. If some of you aren't familiar with Ben's work, he had a viral video called Back to the 90s. It's in like tens of millions of views, I think, now. And got to be so popular that the Backstreet Boys invited him to open up for them in Vegas.
Yeah, it's funny.
But anyway, he's the voice of Robin. He does a lot of acting around LA. I haven't kept up with the DC animated films, so I don't know. Is this like a normal thing that's happening? Or?
I know, because I think they've actually crossed into DC Universe before. But in this one, it's like they're crossing into it, and Shredder drops some mutagen into all of Arkham Asylum. So like everybody in Arkham Asylum, including the Joker and Harley and everybody else, is going to be now a mutant. So it's kind of, I don't know how I feel about it because I'm not a big fan of like giant crossovers like that. But
this is an interesting cast now that I'm reading it. So our friend Ben is Robin, but I'm like looking. Raphael is Darren Criss. He's a guy from Glee. I think he's from Glee. And then as Kyle Mooney from Saturday Night Live as Michelangelo. What is interesting casting.
It's interesting that Troy Baker as both Batman and Joker.
Wow, so this is based on a comic book series of Batman and Ninja Turtles. Okay. They were just discovering all this like in real time. Oh, Rachel Bloom is Batgirl. Interesting. Tara Strong's Harley Quinn. Tara Strong's been Harley Quinn before, right?
Yeah.
And Poison
times.
Ivy.
Yep.
Oh, March 31st. That's coming soon.
Yeah. That's why I posted it. It's like, that's kind of weird. Like, okay, cool.
So, yeah, I mean, I probably am going to watch it because I saw that Ben was in it, but I don't usually watch DC animated films. I know they're supposed to be great. I've just, like, checked out of so much DC stuff lately.
Yeah, they've always been pretty amazing.
Yeah, the animated films especially are pretty good.
All the Superman ones are freaking dope.
Yeah.
And I guess I've watched a few Batman and Flash ones too, but like I love the Superman ones.
My favorite is the Under the Red Hood.
Under the Red Hood.
I've heard about that one a lot. Like, there's like a Nightwing series or something. Or is that
He's in a lot of them.
Gotcha.
I haven't even seen this trailer for this Batman versus.
Yeah, watch it.
It gave me Scooby Doo meets the Harlem Globetrotters like vibe.
A little bit. Here, hold on, guys.
So that's actually looks a lot better than I read. Obviously, there's like it's a cartoon, so there's going to be things I'm going to like think are super cheesy, but and then I read this like interdimensional thing, and I was like, okay, well, is that how the Turtles end up in Gotham? But it looks like they just traveled there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird because
like from Chicago
Turtles
or
are
something.
From New York.
Like they didn't show any time travel or anything.
Metropolis, Gotham, Star City, stuff like that.
This is another thing DC doesn't like do too well is like the geography. Like in Batman v Superman, we're like, wait, Metropolis and Gotham are like across the river?
Yeah.
I'd always like gotten the impression that they were like half a country apart, but whatever.
New York and Chicago both exist in the DC universe, but I guess they're south of New York. Both of them are, which is kind of weird to me.
Sure.
Yeah, it's always been annoying.
It's so weird.
This makes me feel better now.
My friend Alec just sent me a text saying, "Ooh, Batman versus Ninja Turtles." I
Nice.
kid you not, right now.
That's hilarious.
Let's fight something in the air. Your
Yeah.
marketing's really great, guys.
Hold on, I'm gonna take a picture real quick.
Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will follow the Turtles meeting Batman for the first time via a trans-dimensional encounter.
Here we go. All right, that's fine. Podcasting right now about it.
I'll probably watch this though.
Oh, that looks fun.
It's probably gonna be one of those things where like don't think about it too much. You got the Turtles and Batman together.
I really liked. There was a Ninja Turtle show that was like a computer animated show a few years ago that I really enjoyed. Like at least for the first 2 or 3 seasons, it was very fun, and my kids loved it too. And now they have like a newer cartoon, which is weird. Like Raphael is kind of the leader.
Huh.
And he's huge compared to like everyone else is like tiny and like it's weird. Raphael has like a do-rag on.
Oh.
And you're like,
You're
what are we doing?
Dipping toes into dangerous territory there, guys.
Exactly. Well, April's black in it, and she's a black kid.
Oh.
So you're like, okay,
A
so
little progressiveness there.
it's like, what's going on? That's half the time.
I'm
Like,
actually proud of the internet for not having outrage about that.
you'd think.
Yeah, because I haven't heard about that until just now.
Yeah, me neither.
I doubt it'll last very long, though. I mean, like from the clips I've seen from it, it just doesn't seem very fun. And I feel like Ninja Turtles can need to be based in fun.
Yeah, totally. Because it's there's like 6 foot tall turtles
Exactly.
with like a giant rat raising them.
My dad always said, because I used to love them when I was little. My dad was like, "Stupid Ninja Turtles, probably some dudes in a college dorm smoking weed."
There's
No, it's
created them.
grown ass men smoking weed.
Did anybody see that picture of like young Splinter with like the 4 Ninja Turtles like
Yeah.
as a kid, and then underneath it's old Splinter with like all them all
grown-up
grown up.
turtles.
Yeah,
That
people
was
usually
so
mean
great.
So
that.
emotional, you know.
That's how we grew up with turtles. Though, is this like very like family oriented thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. They were like that in the comics too. However, it's very, especially early on, it's way more gritty, which is kind of funny that they made it into a kids like super cutie kids
Right.
cartoon.
Because and also theirs and the Daredevil's origin stories are like dovetailed. I think like unofficially.
Oh yeah, about the
It's like no.
toxin.
They're two separate like comic book corporations, so they won't acknowledge it. But I think all the writers are like, yeah, they're the same thing. Have you ever seen that?
No,
So the canister that hits
Matt.
Matt Murdock in the face
Yeah,
is the same one that falls into the sewers to create the Ninja Turtles.
and also the
That's not
Toxic
how it
Avenger.
work.
But there was actually I think Nerdsync did a video about it. There was some crossover of the staff from the 2 comic book companies, and they just tied in the story that way. And like once again, the comic book companies won't acknowledge that that's true. But like, I think in one of the Turtles origin comics, when you like if you look in the background of the panel, you'll see a blind kid getting hit by a car.
Nice.
As the canister's falling into the sewer and stuff. So it's just kind of like the writers have put it in there like, yeah, this is the same,
That's
same
pretty
thing.
cool.
So it's funny. Now there's like a DC tie-in. So now it's like everybody's together, you know?
You know, Alec just asked me if he could come for when we talk about Godzilla.
Well, we're actually going to be on. We don't have a date yet, but me and Rod and possibly you too, Josh,
Sure.
are going to be guests on like a Godzilla podcast. It's Maddox podcast.
Oh, nice.
He's invited us several times, but we haven't been able to make a date yet.
Ironically, we were at a convention for podcasting. So
I've never listened to his podcast, to be honest. And I had just recently asked for the name of the podcast to share with other people, and I already forgot
it's
it.
still the best show on earth.
Looking back here.
He has a lot of podcasts. Maddox is like
Dang.
he's like the original king of the internet.
The best
Best
debate
debate.
in the universe.
Right. With Maddox, it's always like the best something. Like in the 90s, he had the best webpage ever and stuff. In college, like we adored that guy. He had the A to Z of manliness and like it's all funny stuff. Some people who don't know it's supposed to be comedy are really offended by it, but it's all so far. I guess that's the problem. All of the humor is so absurd that it can't be true. But right now in history, things are so absurd I can't tell anymore. So like reality has met up with the absurdist comedy. But anyway, Maddox has a great podcast. He's probably one of the most organized podcasts I've ever listened to. But yeah, Godzilla, man. Like, Vince is way more of a fan than I am, so I don't want to pretend to know anything about it. But I like big monster and robot movies. So even the bad Godzilla movie that came out like after the bad ones, the original
The
bad
bad
ones.
one after the bad one.
Yeah, like well, I mean, like because you know, like how the original ones were all like kind of bad, like they, but that was the charm about them. And then the Matthew Broderick one, they were like, we're gonna make it cool, and it's like, don't try, like, just embrace what it is.
Green Day.
Were they in that?
Yeah, that's where they use brain stew in it.
Oh wow.
You know.
All I remember from that was the Robert Plant Puff Daddy P Diddy thing.
I don't remember that.
For
was
the
the main
Godzilla movie.
Yeah, it was
Is
the main
it?
theme song.
Yeah, it was like
It was
Cashmere.
It was Cashmere with Puff Daddy P Diddy, whoever his name was, rapping over it. But
That's weird because normally he's very, very against, I don't know, using his music in anything.
I mean, listen, there might have just been the right price tag on this one.
That's true.
I'm not sure. I just remember that my brother, that might have been the first time rap was like introduced into our household. It's like my little brother like begged my mom to buy this CD single of that song from Godzilla, and I was like, what earth is this? Like, because I remember the riff from like my dad's vinyls. I'm like, but what, there's this rap thing on it? So I just hadn't conceived like mashups like that before.
I think I used to have that soundtrack, to be honest, because I used to buy, like, for some odd reasons, I just wanted to buy soundtracks when I was younger.
I love that.
Maybe it's because my parents were more okay with me buying soundtracks rather than, like, you know, I know when I got the Green Day Dookie album, on the inside they're like, you know, smoking weed and blowing it into the mirror or whatever, and there's dogs like, you know, having sex or throwing poop or something on the cover.
Yep.
And so my parents like flipped out at that. And even though the whole album is pretty darn mild, but
Yeah.
especially listen to like say like NWA or something.
So there was a new remix of Brain Stew.
Yeah.
And I don't see Metallica on here though. There was a Ben Folds song. It's funny because I'm looking on Apple Music, and you know, with older soundtracks like this, you can tell what stuff wasn't licensed for the long run because they're grayed out.
Oh wow.
So actually, the theme song, it wasn't Robert Plant, it was Jimmy Page. How did I get that messed up? Someone's gonna crucify me for that now. Come With Me, featuring various artists. No, it was Come With Me. It was Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page. That was like the big like music video they tried to push at the time, but I can't even listen to it now because it's grayed out. What's weird is you can't get this song on other soundtrack. Like, this is the soundtrack it was on. So
That was it.
you might have to like buy it from the download store. Maybe that's the thing.
Maybe.
But that's super interesting because that's how old this song is. Oh, Spawn soundtrack. Look at that.
I'm gonna go down now.
Oh, Marilyn Manson and Secret Pimps. Yeah. No,
I would
my
love to see
suggestion.
another Spawn movie.
There's a Spawn TV show coming out.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's actually not going to be anything like the movies. It's going to be very grounded in like real life kind of deal.
Interesting.
So it's going to be
Not
Kinda
good.
crazy.
Look forward to that.
No, but the guy that created Spawn, gosh, what's the guy's name?
Todd McFarlane?
Yes, Todd McFarlane. Gosh, why did I forget that? He is, I think, directing it and everything too.
Dang. Speaking of new movies, looks like they're replacing Will Smith in the new Suicide 2.
Yeah,
I thought Suicide Squad is a reboot now, right?
that's so weird
Or
though
the-
because they're still keeping Margot Robbie.
It's weird because they call it a
didn't know that.
sequel, but it may be a reboot.
I've heard it's a reboot today. Like it's supposed to be a
Yeah.
reboot,
I just thought it was supposed to be a hard reboot, but I don't know.
which
Maybe
doesn't
it's-
make any sense.
Maybe it's like Aquaman, where Aquaman like half acknowledges that Justice League happened, and the other half didn't happen.
Oh, it's gonna be Idris Elba. I never
Yeah.
can say his name.
He's replacing
Will Smith.
Yeah, as
So I could see that. I mean, I loved him in those freaking robot versus monster movies.
Yeah,
So.
and what's the not Calvin and Hobbes movie coming up? What is that?
Oh yeah,
what?
No, the Fast and Furious movie. Hobbes and
Hobbs and something.
every time I see this trailer, I think it's going to be Calvin and Hobbes, the dark version. But it's a spin-off of Fast
Another-
and Furious between Jason Statham's
Yeah.
character and The Rock's character.
Rock.
It's Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
That's not right. And Idris Elba is like a virtually invincible villain in it. I think he's actually going to be the star because he's the first person you see in the trailers.
Yeah.
Are they going into like superhero stuff in these movies now? Because
In this trailer, they very much did, like, because super villain at least, because Idris Elba, like, you see him getting enhanced, kind of like how Captain America does. You see like lasers go through his muscles and stuff. And
Something to deal with his spine, like is like the technology that makes him strong or something like that.
come on, guys. There's a point where you're jumping the shark.
I think they replaced his innards.
I have a feeling that's not gonna. I mean, maybe it'll be fun for a while, but I don't see that long term.
I don't know. I actually, to be honest, I haven't followed the Fast and Furious franchise. I may have seen one or two. It's funny because in college, not my first one, like maybe my second roommate in college, used to watch one of the Fast and Furious movies every night. Like would put it on the television in our dorm. So I think I saw parts of it through osmosis, but I've never sat down to watch them. So I don't know how this fits in the whole. I know that there was that Charlie Puth song that came out of the last one.
Yeah. Well, it's because of the Paul Walker thing
Yeah.
that he had died and whatnot. And
But
it was a very touching song that kind of,
it's a good song.
yeah.
But and I also know like Scott Nicewander from NerdSync, it's his favorite movie franchise. He likes it more than MCU. Because of his absurdity, he likes the ride, and I can't knock that. I just watched a movie about a space lady, you know. So
I watched the first movie and it like satisfied that like guy and fast car things like Gone in 60 Seconds kind of like it'd be like, yeah, I want to drive cars fast, and I'm like a kid with a lot of testosterone.
Yeah.
So like, okay, cool. But after that, it just got annoying.
I maybe saw the third one. Like I maybe saw the first 3 movies.
Tokyo Drift though, that's the one that doesn't have anybody in it.
that's another tough thing about the series. If you don't know and you didn't have the internet, it'd be very difficult to place them in order.
Yeah, if you showed me clips from the 4th, 5th, and isn't there 6 of them?
I honestly don't know.
I think if
There's a
you
lot
showed
of
me
them.
clips from those, I couldn't tell the difference between any of them.
I didn't see anything after Paul Walker died.
That was the last one.
Yeah, that was the most recent one.
Wow. Well,
it's true.
Maybe it was 3 then. I forget which ones I've seen actually. That's how much I care about that movie.
I also
Or
used to
franchise.
I used to get that mixed up with Triple X a lot too.
Because of Vin Diesel.
I guess it was just a meathead movie, and I actually like Triple X, so I probably would like Fast and Furious. I just keep getting mixed up.
Did they make another Triple Max movie with Vin Diesel?
I think they recently did.
I don't remember.
Didn't they?
Yeah, because it was the actually Vince and I have a vlog from it. We were at the red carpet for that, and that's the one where they left us all behind the building and forgot about us, like 200 people. Like we were at the TCL Chinese Theater. They're like, wait right here, so we all waited, and then they forgot about us.
See, like I don't know, like I'd never seen the movie, and like for some odd reason, I almost felt like it was one of those moments where you're like, did it really happen? Like being an alternate universe or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, did that happen here?
Because it was Vin
Like a
Diesel
Mandela
for the first
effect?
one.
Yeah.
It was Vin Diesel for the first one. The second one was like Ice Cube or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ice Cube was in the second one.
And then the third, I think the most recent one, like a couple years ago, was Vin Diesel again, or maybe with Ice Cube or something, or I don't know.
Ice Cube
I think
was
it
his
was-
character, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Oh, that'd be weird.
But I think
Which movie
I
are you
don't
talking
know.
about?
I haven't seen the
Triple
second
X.
Triple X, but I think the third Triple X movie was actually called like Return of Xander Cage or something like that, or Xander whatever his name is.
That would make sense.
On the topic of Vin Diesel movies, my favorite meathead movie series though is Chronicles of Riddick. I thoroughly enjoy those movies.
Yeah, I liked that series for some odd reason, even though it was kind of weird to me.
They're
like,
stupid, but I love them.
yeah, I was okay with it. I feel like those are kind of like Jason Statham movies, to where they're
I
like,
also like Jason Statham movies.
you know, what was that series that he had for a while? The car one where he was a delivery driver.
Crank?
Passport
No. Is it
or
Pass- no, it's not
or
Passport.
passenger or something like that.
Yeah, something. He was basically like, I'm delivery guy.
He always drove an Audi.
Yeah, transporter. That's what it
Oh, the
was.
transporter,
transporter.
I think both words. No, what did I say? Passport,
Passport?
and passenger. That's what I said.
I was more of a Crank guy. Like
Yeah.
that was awesome series. Like, or at least the first movie.
This is so long ago. I feel like it's in between all those movies, so like I feel like that's part of those movies. to
Pretty
me.
much. I remember like Chester Bennington like made a cameo in the first one. It was so much absurdity to it because the whole if you haven't seen Crank, he has to keep his adrenaline going or he dies. So the whole movie feels like a big like adrenaline trip.
Like punching himself in the face and crap.
Yeah, like I mean, there's a scene where he has like sex with his girlfriend in the middle of Chinatown over like a mailbox and stuff. But I mean, sex is loose because he has to like keep his heart rate up, so it's going like fast and furious. Like it's like bam, bam, and then he like keeps running.
I can't imagine she enjoyed that.
I want to see this Return of Xander Cage.
You've never seen it?
Nope.
No, we were left outside.
Oh, that's true.
2017 came out
Oh, that's what.
January 20th.
Yeah.
Such like a mist, man. Just like
It didn't
near
do
and
well
gone.
with. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 46, and then the other metrics are 42%. So
All those movies fall under like the category of like critics shouldn't watch these.
Yeah.
yeah,
These are just. It's like Phil Ranta said about the MCU movies. MCU movies are candy.
I love Donnie Yen though.
Like
Donnie Yen's a good martial artist.
most people like candy, but if you don't like candy, don't go see this movie. Like, it's like it's good. It's like all the things that your like senses want when you try to escape.
Yeah. So another thing that happened while we were gone was Arrow and Legends are being canceled. Arrow gets like
thank
one
God.
more half a season, kind of.
So I didn't know about the Arrow thing, but I saw the actor that played Arrow.
Stephen
had like,
Amell.
he had like a crying like Instagram video or something.
He is such a cool dude, though. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if
So-
you've ever seen him before, but like, or seen him. He like would go out of his way every week just to talk to fans, like via Instagram or via Skype or whatever it was.
I've seen the Comic-Con videos.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because he knows Arrow has been his entire career.
So hope he has like a bright future. I'm so glad Legends of Tomorrow is being canceled. I mean, I don't say this very often because I try to like give everything a fair chance, but what a garbage show.
Yes, I will agree with this. I feel bad for agreeing with this because I generally like those shows, but like that one especially. Ugh.
So once again, I have a couple friends that really like the show, and maybe it's just not made for me, which is weird because I feel like it was supposed to be made for me because I like that kind of stuff, and I love absurdity when it most times. Like I said, I just got done talking about how much I actually liked Chronicles of Riddick and Triple X, but like Legends of Tomorrow, like the way it was marketed as a guy who doesn't follow all the DC TV stuff, it looked like, especially in LA, that it was going to be like the crossover of a century. Like, like they had the sides of buildings and it's really cool looking art. I mean, it's like all the other DC stuff. The trailer got me. And then we went to watch the show and I was like, this is worse than the first series of Star Trek. That's all I can say about it. I didn't even bother to watch the second and third seasons. Some people told me like it got better, but I'm like, I'm so upset with that
No,
first
it
season.
didn't get better. And like for a while, like I felt really bad for White Canary because like she's like, oh, she's the girl, and like whenever there's another girl, they're like, guess what? She's gonna be a lesbian in love with her, and like every single time you could go like, okay, how are we gonna get into this secret place? Well, hold on, there's a woman over there. I bet she's a lesbian back in like 1490.
That's so funny.
Like,
So in the first season, that only happened like once, but I guess it keeps going.
no, it does.
It's funny. And actually, and I hope this doesn't. If this actress ever listens to this, nothing
I'm
against you,
sorry.
but I don't like that character. So I don't know if it has to do with the actress. It's like they told her to always suck on a lemon and then go for her scene.
So you just don't like her angry face, or
Kinda
She's
like-
got like a pucker face on or something.
Kind of, but like even in her mannerisms, it's like everything feels so uncomfortable. It's like maybe they were given bad direction or something. Like, here's a scene, you're in a spaceship, time travel, go. And everybody's like, what are we doing? What's going on? Like, everybody feels perpetually confused. Like the performances, like you watch Captain Marvel or most of the MCU movies, the timeline and the chronology of the story feels like fluid for the most part. But you know that they didn't film that stuff in order. Something like Legends of Tomorrow, it felt very apparent that things were like not in order.
yeah.
Like, and I don't know whose fault that is. Like editing,
It's so
directing.
jumbled together, like the way it just cobbled together the ends of TV shows and whatnot. But it still had that authentic CW like grossness. Even going back to like, I love Smallville, but like, and any other CW show that's ever been on, there's like this teen like weirdness to it that kids aren't stupid.
Yeah.
Like, they don't always go, oh, well, I hate this person or I love this person, and so I'm going to lie to him because whatever, and I'm going to drive them away and I'm going to bring them back and drive them away. And like, there's just things like that happen in every single one of those shows, and it annoys the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, it's been a long night. I'm going to have to edit all out of this.
Those would be 2 episodes, right?
I don't know.
Maybe this is 2. I don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Me and Vince are RKVC. You can check us out on Spotify, on all the, well, not Spotify, they're evil. Apple Music and YouTube and all that stuff. And Josh has Band's Life.
Yay, that bands don't like to respond to me.
If you're in a band, email Josh.
Yeah. You want free publicity? I mean, it's not a lot, but I'll give you something.
That's what my prom date said. All right. Thanks for hanging in there.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.